Record. We are live with another episode of the Rock Fantasy Files, a new show I've started. I think this is about episode 16 right now. And I'm here with some actually good friends of mine that I've hung out with for years, great customers of the store. They're a local band from the Orange County area, and this is All Out War. Mike Score and Erik Carrillo. Mike's vocals, Erik Carrillo, bass, correct?
Correct.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How you doing, Steve?
And thanks for coming on. And All Out War, it's been around for how many years now, Mike?
Well, that's a hard question. So we first started writing songs in the fall of 1990, but our first show was 1991 at the Class in Middletown.
Right.
That was actually I think it was December of 1991.
I gotta clear the dog. Give me a second. Yeah, so far. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
And very unprofessional I am. I should never let the dog in the room. I knew better. So 1990 about, you said? Since I didn't get to hear it because I had to let the dog out that went crazy on it. Sorry, buddy.
Started to write songs in 1990. Took a little hiatus for some reason. I don't remember what. And then we got back in 91 was our first show. That was the first show. And then we played soon after that in 92. And that was with Erik and what became.
So Erik, you've been in the band since 1992.
So I've been at the end of 91. Yeah, I joined in October of 91.
Okay. And what were you guys working on? I mean, how's the pandemic affecting you? Did you have a lot of shows set up for this summer, or the spring and summer of 2020, the shit show that's turned into, or whatever you want to call it, the reboot of life, or whatever's going on?
All right. Well, we had a short run with Genocide Pact and Ringworm planned, and that was at the very beginning. So that was like March, like the second week of March. That got canceled.
Yeah.
Right when it hit. So those shows were kind of up in the air on whether they were going to happen or not. And then that's when the quote unquote lockdown happened. And then we had a European tour that got canceled. And here we are. We haven't played any shows in 2020 at all, and it doesn't look like we're gonna.
No, it really doesn't look good. I know I talked to someone that knows someone at the Gramercy, and they said, well, at the Gramercy, they don't think they're going to be trying to do anything till end of February of next year. And I mean, the Chance is trying to do stuff, but I think they got shut down. I mean, as we're filming this, it's July 8th. And the Chance had something going on, but I don't know if the governor's even going to allow anything like that to go on as of the moment, whether it's safe. And it's tough. So Erik, we haven't talked to you too much yet. Erik, what were some of your influences of getting in, and how did you get started playing music?
Well, my older brother got me playing music.
Are you still there? There he is. You can hear us? You're locking up a little bit on the feed.
I see you guys good. I don't know. Hear me?
Not really.
Hello? I don't hear him. Are you, Mike?
No, I don't hear him.
We're losing Erik. Technical difficulties.
I don't know why.
There, you can hear you now.
We can hear you now. So how did you get started in music, Erik?
I had an older brother that got me into the scene. He was big into metal, and got into like bands like Black Sabbath at a real young age, and just kind of went with that. Probably my biggest influence are Iron Maiden and then Venom. But that's how I kind of got into music. I liked Gene Simmons from Kiss. That's how I got into playing the bass, because I liked him spitting fire. That's pretty much how I got into it. And ever since then, it's just been downhill.
Or uphill. And you played in some other local bands before you joined All Out War, correct?
Yeah, I played in a band called Violent Plague. That was with my brother. We did that for a couple of years. Kind of like thrash, hardcore, not really hardcore, but thrash crossover type of a deal.
You guys played one of our anniversary parties. I don't remember exactly which one. My brain's a little foggy and all that, but I remember Violent Plague playing at the Class and probably maybe Sportland, Rock Palace. I don't know if all three or.
No, just Rock Palace. Yeah, we never played the Class or any of that.
Okay.
Yeah. We weren't together too long. We did like a lot of parties, nothing big, you know.
Yeah, I definitely remember that name quite strong. And we also had a band. Me and Erik had a band back in the day. We kind of made it for a joke. I think we were making fun of some of the other bands in the area that were pretending they were like Led Zeppelin or Iron Maiden or Judas Priest, and we were like DCM, and we had all different kinds of members, and we changed every year, but we kind of had a lot of the same core members. We were a cover band. I did a song called "Acting Like Black Sabbath," which was a cover from the Functional Idiots. Yeah, and I remember we had a lot of fun. We played the Class. I don't know. Did we play the Rock Palace? I don't remember.
I don't remember if we played the Rock Palace. I definitely know we played the Class, and did we play the Class twice?
Probably played the Class a couple times. We're gonna have to do a DCM show, so Brad Bader probably knows a lot more history. Can remember more of the history than I can. My most memorable show with DCM was when we played the Sportland, USA.
Oh yeah.
And it was we had Kiss Army as the headliner. We had Morpheus Descends, our local death metal, band from Middletown that went on to be a national act, as you guys did with All Out War. And we had, I forget who opened up. It might have been your brother in a band even. I forget.
It could have been.
But we had this packed house, and then the cops showed up with like school buses and a helicopter. But it was like a surreal night that you'll never see anything like that go on. They were doing, and they shut down the show. Right when we were getting off the stage, I believe. We were walking outside, like, what the hell is going on? They actually put the house lights on in this venue, and they made everybody get up on one side and ID'd everybody as they came through. And if you were underage, they were taking you away in a school bus.
Yeah,
they did that. It was a very surreal night.
Wasn't it the whole town was like that? They had helicopters out.
Yeah, it was like we were being invaded by like a small country or something. It was kind of crazy. But that's our DCM story. But we're talking about All Out War today, and what was going on else with All Out War? Are you guys working on any new music?
Yeah, we started writing some stuff online, just as much as we can. It's really it's difficult writing stuff online for us. I don't know. So hopefully soon we'll start jamming again, but it's been so long. I mean, last time I've seen these guys was February.
Yeah. And none of us are technical with the computers and stuff. So
yeah, we're not all that savvy.
Zoom tonight. But and what other members are currently in the band right now? Maybe so we can fill into the audience. And all you guys are local in the Hudson Valley?
Yeah, pretty much. We got Andy Petrolongo and Jesse Sutherland, and they're in Poughkeepsie, and then we got Tara Sapuzzo, and he's in Brooklyn.
Yeah, Brooklyn.
Okay, so he'd have to travel a little bit, maybe pretty soon you guys can get together and do a jam at least or something just to shake the rust off a little bit.
Yeah, we're hoping soon.
Maybe you can do a live streaming All Out War show or play a drive-in movie or something.
Yeah, there you go.
That works.
So last year, I sponsored a show that you guys played because maybe we'll talk a little bit about last year's album. What was the title of last year's album?
Crawl Among the Filth.
Crawl Among the Filth. And you guys played a big show at the Chance like the first week of August. So it's a little less than a year ago, or a little over a year ago now, around a year ago now that you released that album. And were you happy with the sales and everything with that?
Yeah, Buddy from Unbeaten Records did a great job with it. John Niclario, he's a local guy. He recorded it in Montgomery, and he did a great job producing the record. And I wish we could have played more shows to support it. We did the release show,
Yeah.
And then we did something with Integrity up in New England, and then we also did a few shows with I Hate God. But we were planning on hitting it hard in 2020, and then this hit.
Sure. Like everybody else in the music business,
Right.
I've been interviewing a lot of bands I've talked to are all spread around. Are actually doing like videos where one person plays a part and they're kind of melding them together. Now, Alice Cooper just did one. As I was talking with his guitarist today, I was talking with the band Enterprise Earth. They just did a Lamb of God cover tune, and they did it that way. And those guys are spread all around the country. So it's interesting how some of these bands are pulling off stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
SOD did that too.
Oh, did they do one? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like splicing the parts and kind of laying the music over it, I guess,
We're not
more complicated than I could figure out.
right. We're not technologically savvy enough to pull that off at all.
So last year's show at the Chance, you had a pretty all-star lineup of hardcore, and we had a little death metal you had set up on that show at the Chance. You maybe we'll go over that show a little bit. You had Internal Bleeding.
Right.
We
had Outer Heaven.
Yeah, from Philly.
In Cold Blood, Sick Bay's local band.
Yeah.
Who else did we have on that show?
We better not forget. They're going to be watching and get mad.
I'm getting old.
One of the headliners.
Eternal Sleep from Pittsburgh came out. And played.
Yeah, that's right. And it was a pretty good night. I remember going up and setting up a little table and supporting the show. And it just 2020 has no shows. So you look back on things and realize everything we were taking for granted last year. And how many albums have you guys released now as we roll into with Crawl Among the Filth? And
we got 7 full lengths.
Yeah.
And we got 7 full lengths and 3 EPs.
So I asked Erik this question earlier. I guess I'll ask you, Mike. How did you get involved in playing metal and or just music in general? How did you start out, and what got you into it?
Well, I first started I always was a fan of like aggressive music as a kid, so I started out, I think it was Twisted Sister or whoever. And then I discovered like the heavier stuff like Metallica, and Metallica led to Slayer led to Creator, Destruction, all those bands. Yeah. And then right around, I think it was 87, I was listening to Nuclear Assault, and I ended up going to a show, and Nuclear Assault was playing with Broken Bones. And I kind of got introduced to more of the punk rock crossover stuff. Mm-hmm. And from there I got into hardcore really heavy, so I started to really involved in the hardcore scene. And then around 1990 I started to get back into the metal stuff, so then that's where all that were.
Definitely a lot more. When I explain it to someone, it's hardcore with a shit ton of Slayer influence. To me, I hear a lot of Slayer when I listen to a lot more.
And if you listen to most metal, you'll hear a lot of Slayer.
It is true. I think you guys just do it well, though. I mean, you hear a lot of those, like a South of Heaven riff once in a while or something. It's like you guys are hardcore, but you're definitely cross over into the metal world.
And it's funny too, because, I'm not denying the Slayer influence at all, because it's obviously there, but a lot of our influence actually comes more from like Bolt Thrower and Creator, and like Sodom, Persecution Mania, like that record, like a lot of, especially the earlier stuff comes from from that. But I guess those bands were influenced by Slayer also, so it
maybe definitely. And another show you guys played last fall, we were at the Chance, but you guys were with Nile and Terrorizer, correct?
Yeah, that was a great show.
That was a fun show also. That was on a Friday night in November. I think it was just before I started. One of the last shows I went to in 2019, because when I moved my store to 12 East Main, we got so busy with moving and the stress of it and getting everything set up for Christmas, but we pulled it off. And like 2020, I hit 2 shows. I think I saw Ross the Boss at the Chance. I saw Kiss in Allentown, and I saw the most weird metal show ever. I saw Opeth in Graveyard at the Apollo Theater. So I hope it's not my last metal show ever if the end of the world happens soon, but it was an odd show for me to see. Not an odd show, but just a weird spot. And it was like they ran out of beer by the halftime, halfway through Graveyard, the opening act. And I'm like, really? You don't have beer? You know, it's kind of crazy. And there was like very light on security. I was actually on like a third row seat, but I was leaning on the stage. And I got thinking like, well, this is heavy, but I don't know if it's as heavy as like James Brown would have been on that stage. You know, I just thought of all the history of that venue. You know, I grew up with a lot of R&B, so I just thought of like James Brown on that stage and the place going crazy. But I'm rambling off now. So,
well, you know, it's crazy on how many great tours were happening in 2020. You know, it's a shame that they never happened. Like you had that Decibel tour with I think it was Mayhem, and then you know, Possessed was coming through. That got canceled. You know, the
Overkill got canceled.
Yeah, actually, Overkill.
With Demolition Hammer.
Demolition Hammer and Overkill. I was going to that show. And that got canceled like, you know, a couple days before it, I think. Yeah. You know, so you had all these great shows. My last show was actually
right close to when it first went down. Yeah. That week was that Overkill show. And there was a show at the Gramercy in New York City, and everybody was on the fence. Well, are you going to go to it still? You're going to stay home and stay safe. It was that Finnish metal tour. It was Insomnium, Omnium Gatherum, and someone else. And they actually flew in from Finland into Philadelphia to start their tour on the same night the NBA, and like the next day the NHL shut down, and they got here and they had to like scurry to get home. It was a crazy. In April you had that giant weekend where you talked about the Decibel tour, the Mayhem, Abbott, Gate Creeper, and Idle Hands were in the town in New York City on Saturday. Friday Night Tear and Troll Fest were in the city, along with Rotting Christ, Port Nagar, and that Devastation of the Nation tour was at St. Vitus doing a double. They were playing, Wolfheart was there too. They were playing a 7 o'clock show and an 11 o'clock show, which was kind of unheard of. You also had the Philadelphia Beer and Metal Fest that weekend in Philly, which was crossing over with the Mayhem tour, and you had Satan and Haunt in the city that weekend. As I was trying to like, am I still young enough to like keep up with that? And I remember being home that weekend going, you know, like, and here we are, that's what we're facing now. And I don't know, what else do you guys want to talk about? Let's talk a little bit about some more Out War. So how about some tour stories? I mean, people don't know about Out War. These guys come from Middletown, but they've built a name for themselves, and they've traveled all around the world pretty much. Japan, Europe, South America too, or
not yet?
We've never been to South America. You know, I'm hoping one of these days we hit South America. But we went to Japan twice. Yeah. You know, that was a great experience. You know, I'd love to make it back. I'd love to go to actually Southeast Asia. You know, we've had some tentative offers to go there. I'd love to go and check that out. We haven't, you know, been able to make it there, but Europe's always been great to us. You know, especially, you know, like Belgium has always been like a second home to us. So it's been awesome playing there. Met a lot of great people, you know, from doing those tours.
I think I can remember Erik. Sorry if I'm interrupting. I remember Erik telling me you guys were playing some like big metal fest in Europe, and you were like eating breakfast or lunch or something with Loudness.
Yeah, that was the Dynamo Festival.
Dynamo, you were probably on there with a ton of big bands. Yeah.
Metallica and Manowar headlined. Metallica headlined one night, and Manowar headlined the other.
Did you get to see the whole show, or were you just there one night?
Both nights. Got to check it both out.
So I wasn't there. Did you actually play the Manowar or the Metallica?
We played the same night. Yeah, we played the second night with Metallica.
You guys warmed up Metallica.
No, I wouldn't say we warmed up. There's
You were way down the fluff line, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it was big still. It's still cool.
I was home. I was finishing college.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. So Mike Store. So who sang at the Dynamo Fest?
Caesar from Beneath the Remains filled in for me while I finished up school. I had to finish
Caesar
up.
did. Wow. Yeah, Caesar's another good friend of mine. I stay in touch with on social media. He comes into my shop, plays pinball. He brings his son in once in a while. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He filled in while I finished school, and then I came back out later.
Yep.
Okay. So, but you, Mike, you've been on the road and played some of the festivals in Europe too. Do you have any memorable ones you remember playing?
I mean, like Resurrection Fest a few years ago we played, and Arch Enemy and Anthrax and a bunch of other bands were on that. Mayhem, Sabaton was on that one.
Wow,
That was a great one.
Mhm.
What was the Brutal Assault in Czech Republic? Motoculture Fest was another good one. Yeah, we did quite a few really good metal fests in Europe. We did Ypres Fest, which is more of a hardcore fest. We're actually supposed to be playing Ypres Fest this year, just coming back. We would have just been coming back from Europe yesterday.
Shit, you didn't have to fly home. You're home already. Look it.
Yeah. Yeah, if we went to Europe, I'd be dead tired right now.
Yeah, yeah. So playing with Mayhem and all those bands, I mean, it's cool. It's great that you guys came out of Middletown, because not that many people made it out of the Middletown and the Hudson Valley and have made it that big in the music business. I mean, I have interviewed a couple here and there, like Andy Freeman, that's been last in line now. We all know Andy and Ray from being in Middletown and hanging out at the bars, and Andy's done all right for himself. Of course, we got, Chris Caffrey and Goshen, and we've got Morpheus Descends. I have to reach out to them and see if they'd like to come on. I haven't talked to Sammy or Rob or any of those guys in quite a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, the local scene has had a lot of great bands, Affirmative Action.
Remember Affirmative Action, yeah.
Beneath the Remains. We can go on and on. I mean, I think that the music scene here is very underrated.
Yeah.
You got Dissolve from Poughkeepsie, Primeval. Primeval is a great example of an awesome band.
I just did an interview with John McAtee from Incantation. He was praising Primeval.
Yeah.
And he was talking about playing a gig with him out here. Then Ralph Tambora came in the store the other day. He goes, you and John were completely wrong about that. He never played with Primeval with the Class. They played with so-and-so at Sportland. Because now Ralph is a historian around here. He remembers more about my store than I do. And he knows who played every show here, there, and who played the Sportland and the Rock Palace and the Rock 3 and everything.
Yeah. His house is like a museum. It's like a heavy metal museum.
Maybe we'll have to go there one day when we can go out and be among people. We'll tour Ralph's house. But I don't know. Anything else we want to talk about with some memorable moments of All Out War, or some tours you played, or some of your favorite hardcore bands, or anything we want to make a throw out or shout out to anyone?
I mean, we've done so many really fun tours, and I mean, it was really great to have the opportunity to get out of the area and actually see different scenes. So that was really cool. I mean, early on we toured a lot with a band called Buried Alive, and it was always fun going out on the road with them. Buried Alive, Reach the Sky. We played a bunch of shows. We did I think one of Shadows Fall's first tours.
Wow.
So that was
on that.
God Forbid, Shadows Fall, right?
God Forbid, yeah. Remember them? Yeah. God Forbid and Shadows Fall. I used to see them a lot in the 2000s, doing seeing them at shows and doing the Oz Fests and stuff like that. I remember Shadows Fall. I was actually in a Shadows Fall video that they taped at an Oz Fest once. They're like, "Oh, it's Keeler," and they're doing some crazy thing.
We did a Dying Fetus tour with a band called Diecast. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and even, the last few runs that we did with Integrity, we did the West Coast with them. And like I said earlier, we did New England, that area, up in that area with them. And they were great guys to be out on the road with. I wish we could do that over again soon.
You guys used to play the New England Metal Fest, Hardcore Fest too, all right? The one in Worcester.
Yeah, those fests were always a great time. I wish they still did those.
Yeah, it was last year was the first year I think that, this year too, of course I wouldn't have been able to, but I think last year we were all kind of taken back saying, well, it's not happening anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there, whether they just it wasn't profitable enough. But I remember going there for quite a few shows. Remember 2 years ago on Record Store Day, I couldn't go. I wanted to go up there so bad because it was like a European metal fest, and I'm really into the, I love hardcore too, but I'm really into the melodic European metal. It was like Catatonia and Amorphous and Sabaton were there, and a whole bunch of those bands. I just couldn't pull myself away from the store and Record Store Day to go. But I made it up to Worcester that following fall for the, they do the Rock and Shock. They're still doing that. Where they have the little horror convention mixed in with some metal shows. I went up there for that. That's always a great building to go play in.
It's amazing to me, like how big Sabaton got, because if you think that they were playing the Loft,
Were you at that show?
No, I just remember that it happened. And then to see them in Europe on Resurrection Fest with thousands of people going crazy when they played, and to think, wow, they were at the Loft not too many
years
ago.
Played the Loft, and that was our friend Cal Getter, who I haven't seen in ages, kind of dropped off the face of the earth, was doing the Tainted Entertainment and booking a lot, saving the metal scene in Poughkeepsie and booking a lot of shows. Even a couple of shows in Middletown here at Sound Asylum. And Sabaton played, I think they might have had 40 people there that gig. It was like a summertime, probably a summertime gig. They played the Polish Woodstock Festival that same summer. I think they had 400,000 people. I saw videos of it. And so them playing the Loft must have been like them getting together with some friends for a practice.
Yeah.
And now, when it comes to the States, they were selling out like PlayStation. They sold out PlayStation last fall, like months. I think it sold out in like June or July for a show in October. It was actually the last metal show at the PlayStation Theater, was them in Hammerfall. Now, one interesting thing about Mike, because he's a hardcore singer, I don't know if I can say this on it. He's probably we might have to redo the whole show. Mike's a teacher in a school.
Yeah, I'm a high school history teacher.
High school history teacher, and so listening to Sabaton, I mean, they're nothing like hardcore, but people are probably going, Sabaton, what are you talking about them for? But weren't you using them a little bit in some of your studies?
Well, I had a couple of kids that were into them, so I would, be like, hey, they got a lot of songs about history. I did the same thing with Iron Maiden.
Of course, yeah.
You always get a couple of kids that are into metal, so you kind of say to them, hey, well, check out these lyrics because they connect.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Sabaton, pretty much all they sing about are legendary wars and battles.
Yeah.
Iron Maiden does that somewhat too. Of course, some of those.
One of the classes I teach is early world history, and they have Alexander the Great, and off somewhere in time, Maiden has the Alexander the Great song. So I used to actually use the lyrics,
Now, I think it would be even cooler if you actually played that in class.
Yeah, I have.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah.
That would be of course, nowadays in the United States here, if you're watching from abroad, there's probably, how many kids that listen to metal that would be in your class? It's probably not that many.
Not that many. It comes in waves,
Yeah.
One group of kids will come through and they'll be into metal, like real metal, not like more new metal, but real metal. And then when those kids graduate, because I've been teaching for a long time now, and those kids are graduating, you won't see another crop of kids into like real metal. And then sure enough, a couple of years will go by and you'll see kids with Creator shirts and you'll see kids with Iron Maiden shirts, and then all of a sudden, poof, they're gone. And then you wait a few years and here they come again.
Well, it's kind of cool, even if they're not into metal, that you can, they might think of being metal or hardcore as being like, who listens to that? But when you show them something, you can teach them something like playing a Maiden song or a Sabaton or whomever else you could use, just teaching them how maybe it probably makes you look pretty cool to them also.
I don't know, or either that or they're like, what the hell's the matter with this guy?
Maybe
one or the other.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, one or the other. They're probably like, who is this old man? But like metal, hardcore, punk rock, you know, not only for the history, but, you know, for the politics and everything else. I mean, you don't have to agree with everybody's politics, but it is an interesting thing that, you know, it brings all this stuff to life, you know, because a lot of times history and politics to kids, you know, they're so far removed from it that anything you can use to make this stuff come alive and be relevant in their world is something that helps, you know, because it is so hard to teach history, because most of them, you know, when I was a kid, I loved it, but you know, but a lot of kids today, they're just bored with it.
Yeah, it's tough. I've talked to some other teachers nowadays with that too. That's a whole nother subject. But that was the only thing I did well in school, in like my latter years in high school. I was getting like A's in history because I found it interesting. You know, you would find out about what happened in the past. Then I flunked it like math and English. So, Erik Carrillo, you started playing bass because of Gene Simmons and Spitting Blood. Have you ever spit blood in a All Out War show?
Never spit blood that I.
Not on purpose.
Not on purpose.
Mosh pit to the elbow to the jaw, a little blood.
I've taken a couple. I've taken a couple of guitar heads to the face a couple times from people jumping around.
I think if All Out War we can get an All Out War show back together and I can sponsor it. I want you to dress up like Gene Simmons and spit blood. Do a little God of Thunder for us.
Come flying down off the stage, you know.
Yeah, get your wings and be like coming down.
Well, your new store is big enough. We could do it in store. You could have bands playing there.
Almost could, yeah. Since you know, Dark Side really has a great setup up in Poughkeepsie with that.
Yeah.
With you know, I haven't been to Dark Side since I first opened. Now I was looking at the same company that built my website for my store, Rock Fantasy, actually does theirs, and they even have like a smoke shop in there now, which I didn't even know about. So
I haven't been in there in a long time.
You haven't been up there either?
No.
Well, thankfully, Mike still comes to Rock Fantasy and buys.
I still come, man. I wear my mask. And I come. I'll probably be there tomorrow.
I'll be there tomorrow too. I'm actually going in at noon. Tomorrow is a not record store day, but I get my record order in on Thursday. So yeah. And when everybody's watching this, they'll be watching it. I'm probably gonna load this up for early next week, and I try to do a show. You know, I don't want to put two out in the same day. I've had one each day this week, so I don't know what else you want to talk about. Or you want to wrap it up? You think we got enough done?
I mean, we can. You know, I got nothing else to do.
You guys are ready for the All Out War marathon. Erik, it's your turn. What do you want to talk about?
I don't know, man. I mean, I've been coming to your store since I was, I don't know, maybe 15, I think. So
I thought you were going to tell us about the time you played with Led Zeppelin. No. Yeah, you've been coming to my store, and I remember going to a band practice. I think the first time we had band practice with our band, we did it at Matt Mayfield's house, right?
I think so, yeah.
Because Matt was actually the original drummer of DCM. Matt Mayfield was, and we went to his house. And I remember it was around at Christmas time. It was. I think we did the first time we did DCM. We did like a Christmas. What was it?
Up in his attic.
Yeah, we went up there, and I forget who was all in the original lineup, but we're gonna have to get somebody else in on that. But I remember going there, and remember your brother well too, Danny, of course. And I think he dated a girl that used to come around and visit one of my employees. I mean, that was a whole different world, Middletown, in the late '80s. We thought it stunk then, but we didn't realize what we had. We had all these little rock and roll clubs like the Class, the Rock Palace. We had Rock 3 before then. We had the Sportland. We had all these clubs in the '80s and into the '90s. I mean, at one time you could almost say, well, where do you want to play, Sportland or the Class or this and that, which you don't have that option anymore now. We pretty much have the chance in Poughkeepsie, like it's really dried up, and God knows what the picture's going to look like when we finally come out of this COVID thing, how many clubs and how many places are still open. And I spoke with a guy from Enterprise Earth last week, and he said, is it going to go back to where you kind of set up gigs yourself in people's yards or basements, and it's really going to go underground for some of the smaller bands.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, and there's some, cool parts of that too, because
That's
some of
like
those
the hardcore scene. You were kind of used to that back in the day, right?
right. I mean, that was one of the cool things about Middletown, years ago. And like you said before, you don't realize what you got until it's gone. Back then we were all like, oh, this sucks. I really can't wait to move out of here.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
now looking back to those days in Middletown, it was great. We had great local bands. There was a lot of support in the area. Like, we talked
Grunge Club.
The Grunge Club, yeah. I mean, I was thinking the Grunge Club, and I was thinking of the Fair Speedway too. I mean, Orange County Fair Speedway in the 80s was getting all the national acts, the same as like PNC does now, or Saratoga, or whatever else. You were getting everything, and we were getting, metal shows to, whatever, Beach Boys to Milli Vanilli all played the fairgrounds, and you had so many options. I mean, I remember going to fairgrounds for Motley Crue and Kiss and a lot of hair metal, and I was never into hair metal, but we all went because there was the girls there or the crew was there. I remember a lot of times not ever leaving the bar area. You just go with your friends and go up to the 31st lap. And the Grunge Club, that was a whole nother animal. I remember seeing Hallows Eve there, Whiplash there. Of course, our friends Bent Circus rented that out for years and practiced. And that building was still hosting a rather famous band up to a couple of years ago, because Coheed and Cambria were using it as a not a recording studio, but a practice area. And actually, I ran into the guy that ran the building, and he bought a pinball machine for me like 2 years ago. And he let me walk around, and he showed me the room that Coheed used. It was on the first floor, not up on the third floor, where we were all used to go. And the insurance nightmare that would be in 2020. Could you imagine opening that up? Everybody going up that rickety old fire escape to get in.
Yeah, I remember carrying equipment up that thing. Kegs of beer, everything. It was horrible, man.
So what band did you play with up in there?
Say again? I didn't hear you.
What band did you play with in the Grunge Club? So you jammed up in there with a band also?
No, I never jammed up there. I just hung out, went to the shows and hung out with everybody,
What shows do you remember happening up there? The same one?
Hallows Eve was a great one.
Yeah.
That was great. Sheer Terror.
Yeah,
Sheer Terror
that's
played there, right. The back of Where the Wild Things Are with Paul from Sheer Terror laying on the floor. That was taken in the Grunge Club.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. And then, of course, if you got thirsty, you go right next door to Red's.
Yeah.
It used to be our strip club in town, but it wasn't really. It was a strip club, but it was like Cheers at the same time. It was like where everybody would go. And I thought the craziest thing about Red's was if you got there before a certain hour, there was free hot dogs and tanning. Like you could go tanning there along with the girls that worked there. And remember that there was no DJ system. There was a jukebox. Yeah, and I remember like Ed Koch running the jukebox there later on. Like, like a girl would get up there. It's like, what's all right, put in F5. And someone had to run the jukebox for the girls dancing.
Another place we haven't talked about, but for the short time it existed, the Rock Palace had so many great shows. And that was another place that the Rock Palace sucks.
I worked there every day.
Yeah, but think about all the shows that happened at the Rock Palace.
Oh,
and you don't have anything like that anymore.
We had the whole it was owned by a guy named Louis that ran a bar in New Windsor first. Oh man, I can't think of the name of it. You remember, Eric? It was on the Five Corners in Vales Gate.
I'm trying to think. It was.
Was it Confetti's? No.
What? Not Confetti's.
Confetti's was Poughkeepsie, I think.
Yeah. I can't think of the name of it, but anyhow.
Was it 94 West?
No.
That was more of a dance club.
Yeah, it had a similar name to like Confetti's, but it wasn't Confetti's. It was. And they had
maybe
shows
somebody
there.
who's watching can add this to the comments, because I think we're going to strike out. But anyhow, I remember going over there and seeing some of the the regular metal and hair metal bands playing there and then something happened there, and he took over the Rock Palace. I DJ'd at the Rock Palace. I think I worked there 6 days a week. I think my wife was ready to divorce me because I literally would work the store during the day, and I would go there every night. And now it's a bar called it was Poor Bobby's for years. When we would go to Sound Asylum, and Sound Asylum was dry, we'd go over there, and I'd be hanging out with some of the metalheads that would walk over to get beer, and I'm like, yeah, well, hey, remember, look at that spot right there. This is where Creator played. This is where Sepultura played. And on Sundays, there was a hardcore matinee every Sunday.
Yep.
That band Anguish Society used to kind of host them.
Oh, right. I
Anguish
remember
Society.
seeing them with Uniform Choice there.
Yep, Monkey Pup played there a couple times.
Token Entry played there. Sick of It All played there. Biohazard played there.
Biohazard, yeah.
Nuclear Assault was there. I believe.
There's a lot of good bands.
That place was about the size of my living room.
Paul Bostaph, of course, played there. That went on to be in Slayer with Forbidden.
Right.
Sacred Reich played there without their singer.
Without the singer. And I remember a friend of mine that worked at a record company up in Albany was where everybody was singing the words along because Sacred Reich had a singer had laryngitis or something, didn't he?
Yeah, he was sick. Couldn't make it.
Yeah. Was he even in attendance? Or he's probably on the bus.
I have no idea. I don't think he was in the place at all.
Did that place even last a year?
It lasted about a year, I think. And Louis actually passed away. The owner lived upstairs and he had a heart attack and tragically dropped dead one day. You know, younger guy, was a big heavyset guy, but died suddenly. And my story with the Rock Palace was the day that Creator came. It was Creator, Coroner. I don't remember the opening acts. Ralph Tamboro, I know you're gonna watch this.
Ralph would know.
You can put all the stuff that we're messing up. You can put in the comments, and then you can yell at me and Mike.
I have the flyer somewhere.
You probably got the flyer, yeah. So it was, and I got a, I was booking the bands like that, the Nationals, and I let Greg Morris and everybody know what they needed. Creator showed up, looked at that place, and we're getting back in the bus. And Louis said, "Well, if you leave, I'm suing you." And then this tour manager called me up. I remember being somewhere. It's called me up. It was like he was the nastiest person I'd ever had to deal with, probably since high school with a teacher. He was like screaming his lungs out at me. And of course, everybody at the club threw me under the bus. Well, they never said you needed this. They never said you needed that. But then Creator did go on to do the in-store at my store. And you can see the pictures of Mill. And them were not happy campers. Right?
I remember, man, they were pissed. We were helping them move the equipment out of the bus. They were just
we gotta fucking play. And they were used to, and they were playing like, venues like Toad's Place and stuff on that tour. Because we actually went up and saw them at Toad's Place. And it was the Extreme Aggression tour. We saw them at Toad's Place, and I actually brought Jimmy Smith along with us, who sang with us in DCM. And I still remember that day and going to see them on that tour. And they had the guy from Sodom that just joined too, was Frank Blackfire. I remember we were playing foosball with him after the show. After the show, they kind of mellowed out a little bit,
Yeah, because the crowd was really good. I mean, the place was packed. You couldn't move in there, man.
There was no stage. And Coroner were nasty too. Coroner was on that show, right?
I don't know
they were. Yeah, they were.
Yeah, they were. Because I know they also played again at the Class.
I'm coming right back. I got a flyer for that show I can show you. I think I do.
Was Militia on that show?
Nah. I forget
they were on one of those shows.
Yeah, I forget who opened up for them. It might have been just like another local metal band that, came and went.
Here, I don't know if the audience, internet can see it or not. Here we go. Creator, Rock Palace. Friday, October 27th, and then the in-store at Rock Fantasy.
Does that say Pestilence played on that? Is that what that says up top?
It says Just the Facts, Creator. You don't have to win the lottery to meet Creator. It doesn't say Pestilence. It doesn't say any other bands. This was made up by Epic Records. Just
Oh,
for the
gotcha.
store. We added the Rock Palace to it. Creator has always been one of my favorite bands. It was nice to have them there. Another really epic show that went on there was that Sepultura show.
Yeah.
And I remember hanging out in the back room. It was Sepultura and the brothers, Igor and Max. And when they were so young, oh my God. And it was, of course, we were all young. And Mean Streak were on that too. And we were hanging out in the back, drinking and partying with the Mean Streak, and which was like the little kitchen. It was like this little hole in the wall. It was like the dressing room. And I wish I don't even know where some of those pictures are with Sepultura, but that was a great show. The place actually went out of business when Louis died, and a band was in town to play there. It was called DBC, Dead Brain Cells. Were in town, and they did an in-store at my shop, and that was the end of Rock Palace, whenever that date was. Ralph, you fill us in on that too. We should have invited Ralph on. We didn't know. I think we were just talking on Lauren. Now we're doing the Middletown metal history lesson. And Ralph's gonna yell. He yelled at me about John McAtee last week. Well, not yelled, but he let us know. He's like, "You and John are wrong." I'm like, you got a way better memory than I do, bro.
It's funny, man.
Before that, I mean, probably you guys are too young. We had JB's Rock 3, where Metallica played.
Behind the fairgrounds.
Behind the fairgrounds. And that went out of business the weekend. They had shows coming in. It was actually during the fair. Now, back in the day, the fair in Middletown was a hopping place to be. And that was right like 84, 85, 86 maybe, it went out of business. And the fair was hopping. They had national acts. And you'd go to the fair and hang out there and drink. Then you'd go out, walk up the hill and go to the Rock Club there, which is now an office building. The weekend that they were going to have, they had Grim Reaper coming in on one day, and they had Alcatraz coming in on a Saturday, I think. And of course,
Metallica played there.
What's that?
Metallica played there.
Yeah, but no, I'm talking about the weekend it closed. Was Grim Reaper and Alcatraz? But yeah, Metallica, I was there. The Dukester was there before I even knew him. The main that played in another band, and yeah, Metallica Kill 'Em All. And Metallica were a young bunch of drinking kids that were angry and played really fast metal. That's for sure. That was great.
I think
played that. A lot of people.
I think that set, the audio for that set, I think, is on YouTube, but I'm not sure.
Well, the audio from that set made it on the Metallica Kill 'Em All box set that they put out legal, officially. And I mean, there's a bootleg of it that floats around that I've seen on vinyl. And I mean, they played Middletown 3 times. Metallica played JB's in '83. They came back and played the Fairgrounds in '89. And then they played the Fairgrounds, I believe, in '93 again. They played the Fairgrounds the same night as the O.J. Simpson shooting.
Yeah. It's
the
crazy.
Metallica show at the Fairgrounds the second time around was Metallica, Danzig, and Suicidal Tendencies.
Right. Yeah.
And I was working a promotion at Sportland USA that night. And my wife and I were both at the show. I think she went home. I dropped her off because it was one of those filthy hot summer nights where you're just wiped out. And we kind of laughed. It's like, well, I got to get to Sportland. I got to Sportland, and everybody in Sportland was just glued to the TV screen of this white Bronco being chased by the police. And it was O.J. Simpson night. So,
yeah, that was good.
Yeah. So anyhow, we probably lost most of our audience talking about stuff other than All Out War.
Yeah, probably lost them a long time ago.
This is a lot more interesting than All Out War.
The more interesting stuff. And so what concerts did you guys hit at the Fairgrounds? Or were you too young for that?
Oh, no, I was there.
Oh, yeah, I went to right when I was coming of age.
One show I was talking about, actually earlier today, it was the Operation Rock and Roll in '91, which was a big metal tour, and we were all psyched to have in town. I won a window store display for a band from Texas called Dangerous Toys. That were kind of like a hair metal, but kind of like a thrashy band. And that lineup that night was Dangerous Toys, Metal Church, Alice Cooper, Motorhead, and Judas Priest. I don't think I'm leaving anybody out.
I
No.
remember. Yeah, I remember that show.
We hung out with Metal Church there that day, and backstage with Epic, because I was in good with Epic Records. I saw, and the problem was with Middletown is that Lemmy broke a bone and never played the Middletown show, because I remember it's all being psyched, like Motorhead's coming to the fairgrounds. You know, we were always happy when someone came to Middletown. It's like we finally got this band to come. And Motorhead came, and Motorhead didn't come because I think the night before he broke his leg or broke his arm or something. He slipped off a stage somewhere. So, and like if you look at the poster from the show, Motorhead was not there. Of course, another big show at the fairgrounds was the Clash of the Titans.
Yeah.
For the Metal War with Slayer, Anthrax, and Megadeth. And I had Alice in Chains in the store that day for an in-store. And, you know, I would get a call from the record labels back then, and they'd say, well, you know, do you want to put this store, you know, to help promote this band? And I'm like, well, never heard of them, and sure, we'll do it. You know, anything was good to get a band in. We didn't know that Alice in Chains were going to blow up the way they did. And that's probably my most popular in-store I ever had. And looking back upon it, you hear people talk like, holy shit, you had Alice in Chains in the store? And yeah, we did, you know. I mean, we've had a lot of good bands, a lot of famous bands at the store. Cannibal Corpse with a skinny, very small George Corpse Grinder.
Yeah.
He definitely lifted a lot of weight since then. He was like a string bean when he was there. People were like, nah, that's George. That was like his first tour. But yeah, fairground shows, there was a lot of good shows. I mean, another weird fairground show was a good show we all looked forward to was Judas Priest, but they were in their like turbo phase.
Yeah.
And we all went, but and on that tour package that year, it was Judas Priest and King Diamond. Unfortunately, King Diamond did not, the night before, like King Diamond played up to the night before, then Cinderella finished the second half of the tour, and we got the Cinderella tour. But it was fun for Cinderella fans, but we were all like, oh my God, King Diamond at the fair. Would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything you guys want to wrap up and talk about before we end the show today?
Got nothing. Thanks for having us on. Appreciate it.
What's your favorite All Out War song to play? What gets the crowd stirred up in the pit? Because I think we could really use a mosh pit right now. If there was no COVID, with all the social unrest and everybody being tense, and we all need, and I'm a little too old for it, but I might even run in and throw an elbow right now. I think we all need a mosh pit. What song All Out War goes on, you know damn well it's going to get the crowd moving around?
Soaked in Torment.
Yeah, most definitely.
Soaked in Torment.
What was that?
And Soaked in Torment.
Okay.
That's usually what we open with, and then Resista is always a good one too. I mean, I like playing the new ones, you know.
Oh yeah, some of the new songs. I mean, I was in a pretty bad mood a few weeks ago with all the fucking media. I kind of shut the media off. I think I told you I was riding out to Pine Bush to visit some friends, and I was listening to All Out War all the way out and back. It made me feel better. I said, well, we need a mosh. I was telling Matt Byrne from Hatebreed about it. Matt said to say hello to you guys, and he's like, yeah, they're the most famous hardcore band in the Hudson Valley.
Oh. Thanks, Matt.
Well,
Thanks, Matt.
You're watching. Matt got married during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right. So, Eric, anything you want to add?
No, thanks for having us on, and look out for some new stuff. Hopefully we'll be able to put some stuff out soon and start playing again.
So if anybody has never heard of All Out War, if they're still watching right now, and how do we find you? I mean, what do we go look at? Do you got a website that you're selling stuff and all that good stuff? I know you guys would like to sell some records or some shirts, and I know you have some shirts at my store, but how can we find you online?
Well, we have you know, the Facebook page. You
Yeah.
know, that's just, and then we have Instagram. You know, all the usual ways to find bands today. You know, we don't have a web page per se. We just got the Facebook page and the Instagram.
So you do sell merchandise off of those?
Yeah, We have,
Okay.
we sell merch through this merch company called Cold Cuts. You can just do coldcutsmerch.com and
Okay.
go on there. And they have a whole All Out War store. We
Cool,
also
man.
have the Big Cartel, which is All Out War store at Big Cartel. And that's pretty much all the leftover stuff we have from tours and whatever else is
Sure,
up on
sure.
there.
Maybe
And then go to
I'll
Rock
have you-
Fantasy and get the new record.
Maybe I'll have to have you bring in a few new shirts. Maybe if you're coming in tomorrow, we'll take a look and see what we got left and see if we
Alright,
want
cool.
to promote a few new shirts or in the shop or something. If you want to try to get rid of some stuff if you got too much.
All right,
Well,
great.
thanks for joining us today on the Rock Fantasy Files. If you like what you see on my channel, I'm going to be doing some more interviews with some more bands and some pinball people and maybe some even TV stars. I just did Fitzpatrick from the Munsters and I'm trying to do a little bit of everything. Hit subscribe, hit like, comment, let us know if you like this, let us know if you think we stunk and whatever else. And support All Out War, support some metal, buy some records in this time because bands need support. Anybody in the arts and entertainment is suffering, whether you're into music or television, anybody that works in this industry right now is going through a really tough time.
Yeah,
Alright.
we'll see how many bands are going to last after this. It's going to be very hard.
Bands, venues, all of it, it's just established bands will be around that got a lot of money. Maybe some bands like you guys, I know you guys both have jobs. These guys aren't just rock stars. They got to do other things. So you'll survive that way. But some of the full-time bands are going to, guys are going to have to find jobs and whatnot. Of course, in the genres we're really into, like death metal and hardcore, most people got regular jobs anyhow, I think. There's not too many professionals left yet.
Yeah,
With
tough times.
Nope. All right, guys. Thanks for your time, and thanks for watching the show tonight, and have a great one. Stay safe,
All right.
everyone.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Steve.
Let 'em.